Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about 20 things that I learned in my 20s. When I'm posting this, today is my birthday. And I am 29 years old. Oh my gosh. Like, I used to dream about being in my 20s and this, that. It is not what I expected. Not at all. But today, we're just going to talk about 20 things I learned in my 20s. Now, this is probably not a full, complete list of all the things that I have learned or all the knowledge that I could share. So honestly, we could make this a recurring series if we wanted to, or maybe even just a two-parter. I don't know. Or maybe we can just make the comment section a space to drop some gems and share some stories, some knowledge, things like that. But let's go ahead and get started. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my iPad. So yeah, let's do this. So this is in no particular order, I must add. But the first one that I have written down is forgiveness and letting go of grudges can bring peace and closure. When I was younger, I'm telling you, I would hold grudges. There are still pieces of grudges that I have towards certain people that I am working on. But I have not fully let go of. I think along with that forgiveness is for yourself. This is kind of a 1A. Forgiveness should be for yourself. Let's be honest. Because sometimes people don't deserve our forgiveness. But I think forgiveness for yourself is very important. And I think a part of what I hold on to with certain situations is I've forgiven you, but I haven't forgotten how you treated me or what you did to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's a constant battle of trying to forgive for yourself and moving past things for yourself, so that you have that peace and you have that closure. Number 2, prioritizing mental health and seeking professional help is okay. I mean, obviously, as you can tell, I am Black. And for a long time, I was kind of taught, I don't think intentionally or not specifically taught, that, going to therapy is for people who have mental health problems. Going to therapy is not a Black people thing. You don't need therapy, you go to church. I was taught that, and that's just not true. That was so ingrained in me that during grad school, when I really needed therapy, it was so hard for me to take that step. Super hard. Like, I cried about it. I let myself get to a point where I did not want to exist on this earth anymore. And it's been hard. I've never actually said that to anyone outside of therapy. And then last year I had that conversation with my brother and my cousin. That's how I felt. I felt so alone. And I knew I needed help. But all of the stigma, all of the fear of being looked at a certain way got to me. But you don't need to be experiencing any mental health like distress or anything to go to therapy. And a sub point from that is shopping around for a therapist is great. And it'll probably help you more in the long run than just going for the first therapist that you see. Because some just don't work for you. My first therapist was a student in a PhD program. She was working in the student health center as a counselor, and I did not like her methods at all. It seemed very clinical, and I would just leave the session crying every time. And I was focusing on trauma and things like that, when in reality for me, I didn't want to focus on that just yet. I wanted to be able to talk about the now and what was going on at that moment, why grad school was stressing me out to the point where like I was just over it. And then I found my old therapist, which I am so sad that I cannot go to therapy with her anymore because she doesn't practice in the state where I live now. But it was such a good relationship that we had. And I say relationship, I say that kind of, I guess, loosely. But it was such a good thing for me. She was a Black woman. She understood me. She talked to me at the level that I could be talked to, if that makes sense. So like, she would be like, oh, I know I can talk to you in this way. I can tell you about this book. I can tell you about this research and what it says. I can tell you all of these things and you'll get it. And it wasn't like a she's here and I am here type of situation. It was like, we're here and we're doing this together. Whereas my other counselor, it kind of felt like, she's up here, she's the expert, and I'm here. So, yeah, little background that I was not expecting to share, but hey, it is what it is. Number 3 kind of goes along with what I learned in therapy, to be honest, and that is learning to say no is essential for setting healthy boundaries. I still have a hard time with saying no, but I am much better at saying no now than I was 2-3 years ago. I even have my little Set Boundaries, Find Peace book. I love a good self-help book, especially when it's written by a person of color. Love a good self-help book. And yeah, boundary setting is it's a struggle. And honestly, a lot of boundary setting issues for me, something I learned in therapy, is that it stems from my childhood. It stems from the kind of lack of certain aspects of relationships that I needed during that time. And so it's very, very difficult for me to set certain boundaries, or even asking for help. And I'm not going to get too much into that because it's actually one of my things that's on my list too, and we'll talk about that later. So let's move along because I can go on a rant. Number 4, when you're in a contract with someone, or honestly, even just an agreement, document everything. Everything. If they don't have the proper documentation that you need, you make sure that you're documenting everything. You make sure that you're asking for that proper documentation. That's just something that I've learned with like being a renter, and just making certain agreements with family or just anything like that. Like my ex sold my brother his car, and I made them write an agreement. Like, yes, you at the time, he was my boyfriend, and so it was my boyfriend selling my brother a car, but I'm like, no, y'all are going to write something up and you're both going to sign it. So yeah, it was a good way for both of them to keep each other accountable, and it worked. It worked for them. So document everything. Don't document things to be petty. I'm not saying that, like, oh, you need receipts. No, document things for accountability. Number 5, there is no right way to live your life. That's something I'm still learning. I'm still learning. because I think social media is a place that, makes us compare our lives to where other people are. And I'm sharing so much about myself. I'm just going to share this too. On Mother's Day, I was so in my feelings. Seeing everybody's beautiful Mother's Day posts, seeing them post their kids. And I'm like, girl, you're single. You live alone. You don't have kids. Ugh. Like, you're almost 30 and you're still single with no kids. And then also, you don't have a mom yourself. So I was really in my feelings. But, there's no right way to do life. Life is going to look different for everybody. So that was a big lesson for me to learn this year, on Mother's Day. Because honestly, everybody is just doing the best that they can, and they're doing what works for them. And that's perfectly okay. And I think that's something that I should be telling myself on the daily. You're doing the best you can, and you're doing what works for you in this moment. So, number 6, education doesn't always have to come from a traditional classroom. In fact, this is me being on my soapbox. Traditional classrooms don't even tell you what you need to know. Anyways, traditional classrooms are not the end all be all. And I think a lot of people treat traditional classrooms as the end all be all. But that is just not the case. I mean, let's look at the state of Oklahoma. Let's look at the banned books lists that are across the country. Books are being banned for teaching important life lessons, for teaching important tales of history from different perspectives than the dominant perspective in this country. Kids ain't gonna be learning everything that they need to learn in traditional education settings. So definitely, being your own person, being mindful and seeking out that information, seeking out knowledge is very vital. It can be very important. And just learning in general. I often think about, Black history and what they tell us and then what they don't tell us. What I learned outside of school versus what I learned in school. I was blessed enough to have a teacher. As I was saying, I was blessed enough to have a Oklahoma history teacher who allowed us to read the Tulsa Burning book. I don't think that anyone else in schools around me and in different parts of the state were learning about what happened in Tulsa. And now, people are just now starting to learn about what happened to Black Wall Street. And they're learning it outside of school, right? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of power in learning outside of traditional settings. Number 7, traveling can broaden your perspective and open your mind. I think that everyone should have the opportunity, and I wish it was less expensive, because I really do think that traveling can bring just so much to someone's life. I think everyone should have the chance to travel different states. Everyone should have the chance to travel out of the country at least once. And I don't mean travel outside of the country for fun and recreation. Because there are things that even myself, I went on a cruise, and during that cruise we did ATV riding, we did zip lining. But those are things we can do right here in the States, Granted, was it fun to do them somewhere else that I've never been? Yes. Was it fun to do it in the Mexican jungle, in the Honduras jungle? Yes. But when I go on a cruise again, or when I go to another country again, I really want to be able to go on experiences and excursions where I learn about the culture, where I learn about the food, different things like that, because that to me is so enriching. Seeing one, how other people live, getting to talk to people, and getting to just be in the midst of people who didn't have the same upbringing as you, is so important. I mean, you don't have to travel to do that either, but it's just, that is more interesting and more fun to me, than doing some of the same types of excursions that you can do in the States. Because I do think too, oftentimes we get siloed here in the US, and we tend to forget that, like, there's some things that literally only the US does. No other countries do these things. There's things that, you know, we think, oh, this is the right thing. And it's like, no, only Americans do that. You know, like, everybody else in the world uses meters and kilometers, and we use miles and inches instead of centimeters. So, like, it's like little stuff like that. Like, I mean, obviously you're not going to learn that if you're traveling and you're going on a vacation, but just there's differences that I think are important to be had, or to be learned. And I do think that it gives you perspective. It can give you perspective on a lot of different things. Yeah, we're gonna leave it there. Number 8, and child number 8, this is something I'm still learning. I am still learning to do this. But money management is so important. It is so important. I budget all the time, but I don't always follow my budget. And I'm still trying to figure out and trying to test things out. Still trying to test things out to learn what works for me and what's really going to make me stay in my budget and save money. But I'm also in the mindset of, like, you only live once, so spend it. That's my problem. That is my problem. So, yeah, but some form of money management, some form of savings is so important. Yeah, I have sometimes the mindset that, like, oh, if I just find a job that pays better, everything will be fine. And it's like, no, ma'am. It might be okay because you'll have more money, but are you saving that money? Or are you just adding to your budget, adding to your expenses once you get more money? Because that's what I've done. Anyway, we ain't gonna stay on that topic because this, yeah, still working on that. Number 9, building relationships takes effort and vulnerability. And again, when I say relationships here, I mean any type of relationship, friendships, romantic relationships, familial relationships, work relationships, anything. It takes effort on both parties' behalf, and it takes a level of vulnerability that I think a lot of people are afraid to partake in, myself included, depending on what the ship is. But yeah. Number 10, journaling is an amazing technique for finding peace, closure, working through emotions, planning, etc. I love to write things down. Love it. I take the time to, write about my day. I don't do it every day. I wish that I had the kind of dedication and determination to do it every day, but I just do not. But when I write, I often am, just sharing something that happened that made me feel some type of way, whether good, bad, whatever. And I'm processing those emotions as I'm writing things down. I love to use bullet journaling, which again, that's something that I don't do regularly, but when I do it, I very much enjoy it. And actually, I'm about to show y'all my bullet journal. So I have this bullet journal. I love adding stickers to my journal. I need to get some more because this one is kind of sad. But I have a habit tracker on here. I have a health tracker as well, and I just started this on the 18th of May. But I'm just trying to track things that are important to me. I have a cleaning schedule on here. What else? I have content ideas because I really love making content. It almost seems like a chore and not much of a hobby, which kind of sucks a little bit, not gonna lie. I think that's just something that I have to kind of work through. I have one for menu planning, what I'm gonna eat, what I need. And so my hope is to continue to use this throughout the year. Maybe again, not all the time, but continue to use it when I need it. I have savings plans here. Some of it's empty because it's just empty. And then I also have a debt pay down thing, which I ain't gonna show y'all that either, but just know your girl trying to get her debts paid off, okay? So yeah, writing things down, it's very therapeutic. And it's very helpful to see things on paper, to write it with your hand. And to me, writing is also a form, like a memory technique for me. Like, it reminds me of the things that I need. I think there's some psychology behind that. It's been a minute since I've taken an actual psychology course, even though I'm a psychology major, but I think that's something that we talked about, is how writing it down can be helpful in remembering things too. Number 11, you do not need name brand stuff. I say that as I have a name brand purse in the background, but I did not realize before I started filming. But I did notice it, and then I was like, "Ooh, you got something on your list about you don't need name brand stuff." But I say that because I think that we tend to really be concerned with needing name brand clothing, needing name brand items, needing that luxury. Like, we equate luxury to name brand things. And honestly, name brand things are just out here, maybe using quality materials, but also selling things at 300 times the actual worth of the product. And I don't need that. I don't need that when I can go to Amazon, or when I can go to Temu or Walmart or Aldi's and get things that are cheaper and just as good. Like, when I leave, having name brand things are not gonna, what is that gonna do for me? Nothing. So I don't know. I've come into kind of this idea of like, I don't need to be a brand junkie. I'm okay with wearing my Walmart shoes. I'm okay with wearing my Shein shoes. And I think that's easier said than done for women than it is men. I don't know why. It's very weird to me, but a lot of the men in my life, like, not wearing Walmart shoes is like not a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very weird. I don't know, okay? I don't know. I think it's very stupid, if I'm being honest. Because you don't need those things. Get you some shoes that fit and that are, designed for the purpose that you need them for. Walking. Anyways, no shade to people who love them some luxury things. I know, shoes are what's the word I'm looking for? Habit is not the word I'm looking for. They're a hobby for people. People who love to collect them. Whatever. No shade to them. This is just, again, something that I learned for myself. Number 12, what others think about you doesn't nearly matter as much as what you think about you. It took me a long time to realize that. I was so caught up with my reputation. I was so caught up with, how others perceived me, what others thought about me. And that damaged my self-esteem so much. So much. And now here I am in my late 20s, starting to build on my self-love. And starting to, recognize and tell my younger self, because that's important too. Speaking to your younger self is so important. But telling my younger self that, I love you. I think you're great. I think X, Y, and Z. What so-and-so thinks down the street doesn't matter. And I say it doesn't matter, but in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to your self-esteem, your mental health, that doesn't matter nearly as much as what you think about yourself does. Now, I'm not telling you to go out here and be egotistical and be narcissistic. There's levels to this. But self-love is very, 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 very important. And actually, that is number 13. Self-love and self-care is a constant journey. You're constantly going to be working through new battles every day. You're constantly going to be learning new things about yourself. You're constantly going to be, needing to address old traumas. It's a battle. It's hard. It's not easy work. And, you don't always have the time to do that work. But it's important that, you keep it kind of not at the forefront of your mind necessarily, but you just kind of keep it on your mind and kind of try to work towards healing. It's important. It's vital. Number 14, find happiness in the small things. I had to learn that in order for me to be in a headspace where I am happy, truly happy, not only do I have to work on myself, figure out self-love, set boundaries, but I also have to find happiness in small things. Because there's not big things happening every single day of your life, right? So let's figure out small wins, figure out what works, figure out, what has happened that has made you happy, even if it's as simple as, I got up this morning. I made my bed. I made breakfast. Because your girl don't be eating breakfast. So, just thinking of those small wins throughout the day, and those things that just bring you slight joy. Joy is, seeing my dog sprawled out in his cage, sleeping on his back. I don't know why, but it's so funny to me and it brings me joy. So even if I've had a rough day, thinking about that. And going back to journaling, write it down. I, again, don't do good at always remembering to write stuff down, but write it down. There's so many different apps and in specific journals and things like that you can buy that will remind you to, think about what has made you happy today, what made you smile today, and even built-in habit trackers, or you could do your own and do a bullet journal as well. There's just a lot of different ways. I should probably make a video over that. Let me know down below if y'all want to see a video over journaling stuff, because I love it. Again, I don't do it as frequently as normally as I would like, but I love all of the things journaling. Number 15, allow myself time to process and to truly listen before responding. Now, this is kind of a twofolder. Excuse me. Allowing myself time to process could be about journaling, writing things down and giving myself that time and space to process emotions, process events, etc. But it also means in conversation with others, for me to not be as reactionary and to really listen for understanding, listen to really be able to just kind of process what's happening, what we're conversing about, and then taking my time to respond. I have very, very bad social anxiety, to a point where, if I'm having a conversation, especially sometimes at work, if I'm asked a question, I'm just immediately going, that's literally how I feel that I sound. I'm just pushing out all the information. And then later it's like, what did you even say? Why did you say this? Why did you say that? Did you even answer their question fully? Like, so I'm trying to, again, learn to just give myself a little time. If something is too complex for me and I really need time to reflect, learning to be like, okay, I hear you. Thank you for that question. Can I have some time to think about it? Because again, I'm a person who processes more when I write things out. And so I think, yeah. My therapist also talked to me, my old therapist also talked to me about, maybe even having something in my hand like a fidget toy. There's some that are made that are not, super distracting to others, but I can just kind of hold in my hand. And that also kind of helps me to be able to really pay attention, listen, and then allow myself to kind of speak slowly and say what I want to say as I want to say it. So yeah, still a learning process for that one. 16. As cliche as this is gonna sound, just do it. Nike was onto something, okay? Just do it. When it comes to, going after the things that you want, just do it. When it comes to learning new things, just do it. When it comes to, doing things that you want to do, that you would like to maybe do with friends, but they don't have the time, just do it. Just go do it by yourself. For me, again, I have super bad social anxiety. But this year, I've just been on my, just do it. So I went to a yoga class. I was scared as hell the first time because I'm like, I don't know nobody. I'm going to be by myself. But let me tell you, I've went about 3 or 4 times. I just did it. When it comes to things like trying to grow plants, for a long time, I've been telling myself, girl, you do not have a green thumb. Your family did, but you don't. You gonna kill all these plants, and you've killed multiple plants. You killed succulents. Almost killed my golden pothos. And them supposed to be hard to kill. But you know what? I sure bought some seed packets for vegetables, and I'm just doing it. We're just giving it a go. I think that I have that mindset with everything. College, just do it. You wanna get your PhD, girl, don't think twice about it. Just do it. You want to take a class on ASL, don't think twice about it. Just do it. I don't know. You want to go on this trip with your friends, girl, just do it. Just do it. Figure it out. You want to learn how to do SAS, girl, just open up the program and do it. Google it. That's literally my mindset with everything. So yeah, don't let anything hold you back. Just do the things. Number 17, imposter syndrome is real, but so are my talents, skills, and abilities. Now that one is a heavy one for me because I think a lot of what made me so depressed in grad school was imposter syndrome and comparing myself to others in my cohort, in my classes that I took, and just thinking that I wasn't capable, I wasn't smart enough, I was an imposter. And I've had professors tell friends of mine that imposter syndrome isn't real. Yes, it is. It's real. But this goes back to self-love and kind of knowing yourself. Root for you. It might be real. You might experience these things. You might constantly compare yourself, but be your biggest supporter. Root for yourself, because your skills, your abilities, your knowledge, your everything is valid. It's there. It's important. Just because it might not be what somebody else has doesn't mean nothing, because you're still doing it, right? So I have to remind myself of that all the time. And I have to talk to myself the way I would talk to my little cousins, the way I would talk to my homegirls, who just need a little bit of encouragement. Like, girl, if you didn't have the skills, the talents, the abilities, you wouldn't have no job, right? You like, people wouldn't look up to you, which that's still mind-boggling to me, is that I've had people over the past few years tell me that they look up to me, and I'm like, y'all look up to me? To me. Me. Paigton LaTrice. Y'all look up to me. Like, it's so weird. Yeah. I have learned to try to become my own biggest fan, you know, and highlight the things that I love about myself, highlight the things that I know that I have, all that. Number 18, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to be picky about who you ask for help. For me, I know I mentioned this earlier, I have a very hard time asking for help. And for me, again, it stems from trauma. It stems from having to be super hyper independent as a child, having to do things for myself because I could not trust others to do what I needed done as a child. Or, you know, I didn't have certain relationships with people in my life who I should have been able to lean on, who I should have been able to ask for help, who I should have been able to go to. I didn't always have that, and so I had to learn to do it myself, because if they weren't going to do it, then how was it going to get done? Me. And so that kind of formulated this hyper independence in me, to where to this day I'm gonna do it for me. If I need something, I'm gonna get it done one way or another. It's gonna happen. And so for me, it can be very hard when I actually do need help, when I actually do, you know, need something to ask for that help. And that was something that I was working on with my therapist last year, is trying to just, you know, ask for help with little things. If I know I'm getting sick and I just need somebody to help me, you know, wash a dish, or I need somebody to, you know, bring me food or something, you know, asking. I think for me, it's a lot easier for me to ask my friends, or at one point it was a lot easier for me to ask those that I was in like my partner for help, rather than asking family, and things like that. And so with the it's okay to be picky about who you ask, I know that I should ask for help during certain times, but I also know like who I should ask for help. I'm not going to just ask anybody, because there's a point where you just have to be realistic. So and so is not going to help you, and that's okay, you know, or so and so is unreliable, and that's okay. You know that they're unreliable, so don't even ask them. Ask this person over here who you know is reliable, who you know you can count on. And you know, it's about knowing your relationships too, and being confident in your relationships, I think, as well. So I'm gonna move on because I feel like I'm rambling from that, and I'm not getting things out as clearly as I would like. Number 19. Again, write down what it is you want and be intentional about those things. I always make a vision board. Now, my vision board is expensive usually. It is very intentional, but it's also usually just a dump of like, these are all the things. But then I also write down lists of, okay, what goals do I want to set this year? What goals do I want to set in the next 3 years? How can I get there? If you've not heard of SMART goals, really turning things into SMART goals is very helpful as well. I don't always do the SMART goal option, but I do try to be very specific about my goals and about what that goal means and about what attaining that goal means, or will mean to me. So yeah, just writing things down, being intentional, and setting those intentions. And then going back to that so you can reference it and reminding yourself of what your goals are, of where you want to be, etc. And last but certainly not least, it is cheaper, okay, because we're balling on a budget. It is cheaper and more fun to learn how to do things yourself. And this is on my F capitalism soapbox. But, you know, forget the greedy capitalistic companies. If you can do it yourself, if you can make something yourself, try it. Go for it. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And it's so much more rewarding when you can be like, yeah, I built that. Yeah, I made that. Yeah, I did my own hair. You know what I'm saying? So that was one. And I do have a bonus thing that I've learned in my 20s. I've learned, okay, so this thing I've been doing probably my whole life, but I really learned the importance of it throughout my 20s. I've learned the importance of speaking life into young Black children, rooting for young Black children, pushing young Black children to be the best that they can be, setting an example for young Black children, and showing them that despite what this country may tell us, despite what the world may tell us about our skin, about who we are, about what we're capable of, baby, you can do so much more. You can be so much more. Like, I feel like speaking life into our youth is so important, because I didn't necessarily have that growing up. I didn't have that until high school, when I had it sprinkled throughout, you know, certain teachers and stuff throughout my educational career, but high school is where it really like pushed me and really like kind of drove home some things for me. Like, without the people that I had in high school, I don't think I would be where I was. The teachers and the counselors that I had in high school, I don't think I would be where I am right now. I don't think that I would have, you know, even thought to go to college or thought to do whatever. But anyway, speaking life into children is important. I've seen what speaking life into a child and not speaking life into a child can do, because I often think about, you know, how people would speak to me in high school and how people would speak to my brother. They were vastly different, which kind of sucks, to be honest, because my brother is very smart. He is literally the definition of resilient, because he had so many people, you know, oh, you're a bad kid, oh, you're this, you're that, but he's not. He finished with a higher GPA than I finished high school, and he finished high school all the credits that he needed, because he was a little behind. He finished all the credits that he needed within like a year and a half. And I just think, like, if only people were speaking life into him back then, there's no telling where he would be. And I'm not saying that he's not where he should be or anything like that. He's doing just fine. But I'm just saying, like, just speaking life can do so much. It can propel people so far. And I think we need to do more of that. I really do. So yeah, that's all the things that are on my list. Again, this is not a complete list. This is not all the little lessons and tidbits that I learned throughout my 20s, but these are just some of the things that kind of came to mind as I was thinking about what I learned in my 20s. I know some of them are probably repetitive or could have been condensed into, you know, one thing, but yeah, if you have something that you learned in your 20s, feel free to drop that down below. Or if you're in your 20s now, what's something you wish you would have learned sooner? Let me know down below. But anywho, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If this was your first time here, or for some reason you haven't already, make sure you subscribe down below and turn on your post notifications if you like what you see. And don't forget to like this video. Until next time, stay nerdy, stay healthy, and stay hydrated. Bye.